Okay, welcome to take 7 of Let's Put the Mallet Head and Mallet Handle on the title block. I'm having some computer issues with this screencast, so I think it's happening when I click back and forth to the example, so I won't be doing a whole lot of that on this screencast. But to begin with, let's take a quick look at the example. Notice what is new. We have a section view. We haven't done that before. We have a center line. We haven't done that before. Hole and thread note, chamfer note, and a center mark. Everything is new to us there except for probably the center mark, which you did on the pegboard top. So I'm going to go back to Inventor and work through this drawing. To begin with, I need to bring in my base view. So I'm going to start a new title block. I'm going to skip this stuff. You may want to fill this out now. If you want to pause the video, go ahead. And I'm going to bring in my base view. So I click on base, then I come up and I find the mallet head. That is not the view that was in the example, and remember, you want your drawings to be exactly like the examples. So if I click through all of my options, I will see that none of them is correct, okay? So that means I need to go to my orientation, change my view orientation. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to use my navigation cube by clicking on it and then clicking on the arrow. That moves it to how I wanted it to be brought in. So I'm going to click Finish Custom View. Now I've got what I want. I'm going to click down here to bring this one in. I do not want the top view in this case because I'm going to use the section view for that one. So I'm just going to proceed over here to the right. I'm going to left click, then I'm going to left click, then I'm going to right click Create. And I've got the front view, the right side view, and the isometric view. One thing that you might see in the example that you don't see here are some hidden lines. So I need to turn my hidden lines on by coming over to the front view, right click, edit view, and this button will turn my hidden lines on. Very similar to the process we take when we shade this piece, the isometric, by going right click, edit view, shaded, OK. Now let's bring in the section view. So I'm going to come up here and click on section. I'm going to move inside the box. I'm going to click once. Once I've done that, I'm going to trace this line down until it turns green, which shows me it's the midpoint. I'm going to come straight out from there, left click, come straight across the part, left click, go up just a little ways, right click, continue. Then I'm going to bring my section view up, left click, and it's in place. Next, I want to switch to the Annotate tab, come over here to the center mark, and click on the center of that circle, and get my center mark in there. Up here is the hole in a different view, so I want to use my centerline bisector, clicking on centerline bisector, and then one side and the other side of that hole. And what that allows me to do is to dimension to the center of the hole, because we always dimension to the center of a hole or a circle, not the edge. So to start putting some basic dimensions on here, I can start with the overall diameter of the mallet head, just by clicking on dimension, clicking on the outside of the mallet head. I will also come over here and I'm going to click on this little radius. And I know that's not exactly where it is in the example, but it's going to work out better with some of the dimensions we're going to put on here. I can also go from the center of the hole to the very left side of the part. I can go from the center of the hole to the bottom of the part. I can get the overall length of the part from one end to the other. And I think that is about it for the basic dimensions that we have done before. Okay? So now let's come up here and let's look at hole and thread note. I'm going to click on hole and thread. I'm going to come down here and click on that hole that we drilled. And you'll notice that it lists all the information, that it's a 5/8 inch hole, the type of threads, and how deep they are. So that saves me a lot of typing with a leader text or something like that. I also had a chamfer note. So right next to hole and thread is chamfer note. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to zoom in. Sometimes chamfer note is picky about which area you click first, so try to do it the same as I do it. But if your numbers turn out different, just reverse whichever lines you were clicking first. So I'm going to click here, and then here, and then that is what was in the example. That's what we want. 0.06 by 45 degree chamfer. The last thing I had to add on to this one was some text. So I'm going to go text. I'm going to click about where I want it, and I'm going to type in what I want. Hit OK. I'll do the same thing down here for the radius. And I'm going to hit escape to end that text tool. And I'm going to move that text a little bit closer, maybe to where I want it to be. Maybe. Try to get it lined up a little better. Instead of both ends, really that should stay all locations, but we won't worry about that today. So there is your finished mallet head. Let's take a look at the mallet handle now. I'm going to live dangerously and click back up here on my example. And that's when it quit. And when I lived dangerously, it shut off the recording, but I'm glad that I caught it this time. But what I wanted you to see was the example of the handle. You'll notice a broken view. Okay? For a long part that stays the same over the whole part, a lot of times you'll put in the broken view to save yourself some space so you don't have a really, really tiny part in there. So let's go to Inventor and let's look at how we're going to do this. Again, I want to start with a new DMS title block. I'm going to skip that again. And I want to go to my base view, and I want to find that mallet handle. There it is. That's not the view that I want, so I'm going to click through my choices. And this is what I've got for the view that I want. Okay? That takes up a whole lot of space, but you notice if I take it down much, then when I go to my other views, I'm just going to have a super tiny little circle, and it just doesn't look very good. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of force this into here now. I need a front view. Remember, I don't need a top view because the top and the front are the same. But I do need my isometric view and my right side view. Okay? So I'm going to have to shift some things around here to make this work. I'll start by trying to move this part over just a little bit, and I'll go ahead, right click, edit view, and I'll shade that part. Okay? Let's, as long as we're in our Place Views tab, let's go ahead and put in our break view, which is right here. And what this is going to do, it's going to shorten up our part a little bit. So I'm going to click on break. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to click inside the part on one end. Excuse me, I got to click outside the part once. What's it doing to me here? Wow. Okay. I'm going to try this again, guys. I have no idea what's going on. Let me click on this view first, since I was on the other view. Okay. Now I'm going to come up to break view, and we'll hope that it works this time. Click on one end. There it is. Click on the other end, and it automatically shortens it up for me. So what I was doing wrong before is this was the last thing I had clicked on. I've got to click on this front view for that to work. I'm just going to slide this stuff over a little bit, try to make things fit maybe a little bit more nicely. I want to go ahead and go over to annotate, and I am going to put the center mark in here. and I am going to get my outside dimension there. I'm going to get my overall dimension from one end to the other. And then I can do a chamfer note and a hole and thread note again. So I'm going to go to hole and thread note, and this might be a little different than what we've talked about doing in class as far as the numbers are. Let's see. So that's telling me the size of the threads. I'm going to have to put another dimension on there later, but no big deal. I'm going to go to the chamfer note. Put that in. And then I'm also going to go ahead and dimension maybe the length of the thread. I'm not sure exactly what's on the example, and I'm not going to click back to it. So obviously that's incorrect compared to the drawings that we've done. I think you guys are 0.875 or 0.625. I said either one would be okay. That is the brake view with your mallet handle. So hopefully that helps you guys out in title blocking them. Hopefully it takes you less time than it took me to get all these recordings done. But if you have questions as you go through these, make sure you ask, and we'll make them